LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
And we are live.
Welcome back to LaTB MMA podcast. As always, I'm your host here, E with C, getting ready to get into the big V. Vegas 8 gonna be going down this coming up weekend. If you want to catch any of our recaps over the last few fight weekends, be sure to find us at Fights at the Round Table. How have you been, Chaney, also known as the Big C out here, getting it done?
I am
How
worn
was the
out a
last
little
show for
today.
you?
I am a little beat. My body hurts, but I'm happy to be working. Feel good. There was something I did watch or listen to that I was going to be like, oh my gosh, you have to see this. Oh, I know what it is. If we have any fans that also listen to Fighter and the Kid, Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, all those type shows, if you're wanting a dose of haterade, you have to check out Red Bar. Download it, listen to it, and he'll hate everything that you hate about the shows. And some of it's overboard, but that's the whole idea, and I've really been enjoying that. So Red Bar Radio, check it out. What have you been doing?
I started a new semester of school, so I have been knee deep into macroeconomics and statistics. Whole lot of fun. Yeah, think about strike stats all in amongst all this. I'm like, what is sigma over to 3 to the power of Justin Gaethje's strike output? And I'm just like, wow, stupid.
You're like, did you just Khabib me?
So absolutely brutal in there, but we're getting it done. Luckily, we have Saturdays to fall back on. We have some absolutely amazing shows along the way. We were giving a lot of crap to the last card. It exceeded the expectation with some humongous upsets. And this week, I feel like we have a really interesting matchup coming in here for not the strap, just the headlining main card. And that's going to be Alexander Rakic versus Anthony Smith here. But I don't want to jump too far into that one. Any other news other than you're going to be booked for the entire rest of the year with UFC cards? There is not a free weekend. Why? Hide your kids, hide your wife. They're going to be mad at you because Saturdays are gone.
Saturday's gone. If you Dana White Contender Series, Tuesdays are gone.
I know. I caught some of that in between my homework last night. We've already supposedly had a golden age in MMA. I think we might be in it right now.
This feels like just the start.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're about to get into it so deep. The amount of people, not only are they bringing in, I know they're letting go of some fighters right now, but with these Contender Series guys, they're signing 4 guys on all 3 weeks in a row. Like, they're filling up that roster to close to 800 now, I believe, on the roster. So
wow,
I'm excited on all sorts of titillating matchups coming up.
Do you like every week fights? Even as a huge fan.
I know I'll complain. Eventually I'll complain. When we've had 8 and 9 weeks in a row before, I've complained. But in this post-COVID world, I mean, am I going to go to a bar that's not open? Am I going to go to a park a little more? I guess I do that somewhat. But the crowded spaces, the dinners on the weekends, that's pretty much out the door.
I know, but just like anything else, I feel like I get UFC
basketball's
fatigue.
Back in.
I don't care about sports except UFC, but I get fatigue after so many nights, so many Saturdays in a row, especially when we show up. Last week, like you said, exceeded expectation. It's when you show up for those poopers that are long and tedious, decision after decision. They shouldn't even put it together. Everything falls out. It's like, geez, now that I'm already here, I don't want you to cancel it, but
Right, exactly. That's what I feel. I still don't want fights to fall out. If anything, we've been getting a lot of historical moments, I feel like, with those humongous upsets that just came through. But being in a smaller cage, the matchups have just seemed I mean, amazing. But then again, I've been saying that since I was 15 years old. I'm like, these are the best matchups you can put out in the world. And they're just kind of like, 2 days notice. Yeah, sure enough, you're UFC quality. Let's get in here. It's pretty unreal to be a fan right now
This is
in
our
a good way.
it's our second week streaming live on Twitch on the Zoltanite network on the Zoltanite channel, and I just wanted to give a shout out because MMA Mark's buddy, he is for us personally, he's the one who got me into Twitch and LaTB into Twitch, and he's loyal to the show, and I just want to give him an extra shout out for showing up in the room. So cool schmool.
Thank
We'll
you
do
for
this.
that.
Let's see. Did it?
But we know why he's really here, to get them FPD, FPC lowdown. He wants to know before everybody else what we be picking on that Fight Pick Championships. I know why you're here. Try to mask it with support.
I was like, all right. So, are we getting into the card? Are we getting card crazy? You're like, how long is the Zoltan song gonna go? You're like, I'm taking a bathroom break. I'll be right back.
So, for the UFC fight night here, Smith versus Rakic at 205 pounds is going to be a 10-card event. It's down to 9. I think it went up to 11. Again, we're holding on by the skin of our teeth as far as these fight cards. One just falling out yesterday. But you know how we always do it here. We start it from the bottom to the top, and it starts at 170 pounds with returning fighters. I think maybe 1 or 2 debuters as of short notice, but a lot of actual depth here. We're not having a lot of these dirty double debuts. Sean Brady coming in against Christian Aguilera, cousin of Christina Aguilera, getting it done last as a big underdog in 49 seconds in his debut against another Contender Series kind of guy with Anthony Ivy in there.
Is he related to Christina Aguilera?
He is not at all.
Because, you know, there's Aguilar, and we always make some kind of mention of Aguilar and Christina. We'll be like, gonna get dirty, or some
but
shit.
But it's not.
But
there's a difference.
Yeah, it's not even the same last name. This guy, I looked at it, and I was like, oh, that's the same name. Is he related?
It's Aguilera. Yeah, 100%.
He should walk
into that. I
into
was just going to smooth that little fact so somebody would be like, bro, did you know? And some lady will be like, I know Dirty Tina's whole life. She does not have a cousin in the UFC, and that'll be made look like a fool because I don't know enough about ex-Tina. So look into it. But
all I'm saying is you got to look into it.
Truth.
That's definitely a drop we
One
need.
thing I do know, 14-6, Aguilera in here, coming off a 3-fight winning streak. Again, defeating Phil Ivey, who is not Phil Ivey, Anthony Ivey, who is not UFC caliber in there. Got him out of there quickly. I know he had a serviceable chin to Ivy, but still Aguilera's not really the biggest knockout guy. It was really a surprise that he even got the finish in there. I saw more of a decision. Luckily, it worked out in there that it was a quick finish, but we still just haven't seen a lot on the regional scene. Aguilera has a good pace, tends to be a grinder, hard left hook, but jack of all trades, master of none. He doesn't come out specifically with anything that's going to blow you out of the water, but here, I think it's a really uphill battle against Sean Brady, the perfect 12-0 fighter, is a big favorite for a reason, coming off of a big 12-0 winning streak, last beating Ismail Nardiev. And if you know me, you know about them hips and nips. I'm always trying to pick on my boy Nardiev, who's no longer in the UFC, and Brady really put it on him and multiple other fighters.
I was like, he isn't in the UFC? Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, he chose actually. They were offering him lower money, and he's like, I'll go back to the regional scene and get a little better. So definitely love that for Nardiev, realizing that he doesn't need to just keep getting beat in there. But Brady showing a ton of good stuff. Perfect takedown defense against solid opponents in Nardiev and Court McGee. Court McGee was a big test, and I've bet against Brady in both of these fights, and he's just shown that he's been getting better and better in here. The ceiling is much higher for Brady. His boxing's really clean. Again, takedown defense is stellar in there. Former wrestler as well with power. Brady gas tank is shown to be he doesn't grind necessarily, but he doesn't really fade all that much. He has a high level output. I think Aguilera tends to really come on guys later on in the fight when they start to wear out, and I don't think Brady's going to get there. I had think Brady decision. I think I'm going to end up moving that to Brady TKO round 2 or 3. I think Aguilera is going to eat a lot of damage with a lot loopier shots in there, and Brady's just going to have the much cleaner boxing. I'm going to move it to round 3. Give me Brady for the debuting fight of the night. Who do you think are going to be taking out of both of these gentlemen?
I am also going to take Brady. I was surprised. At first, I thought I was going to go with the heavy underdog. Did I just shut that? Where do I have that open at? But I don't mind Christian Aguilera. I think this is going to be a heavy grind of a fight. I just think Sean Brady's a little too good everywhere. Christian Aguilera is one of those guys that can take a beating too. I'm kind of going to stay away from it because I think they're going to mute each other out a little more than people are expecting. But I have Brady decision as well. Or did you say decision? You said not decision.
I initially did, and I moved it to TKO round number 3.
Oh, okay.
But I like decision. I like what you're saying here. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $9,300 for Sean Brady against Aguilera's $6,900. One of the biggest lopsided fights of the entire night here. As we're saying, we see more of a decision, maybe a finish for Brady, but they both only have 2-1 fights in the UFC. Can't really take DraftKings points into consideration all that much. I'm going to be hesitant. Probably going to move on from this one for the price tag. It seems like it's going to be a little steep for Brady with Aguilera, who I do think will be able to at least get beat up for 3 rounds, potentially.
Oh, the next fight's the one that Buddy's so excited about. This is why he showed up for us to break it down.
This is exactly why. At 115 pounds, Emily Spitfire Whitmire, Buddy's number 1 girl, coming in against Polyana Viana. The 10-4 fighters coming off a 3-fight losing streak, losing to Macedo, Cyphers, and JJ Aldridge, beating Stevenson as her only fight in there over 2 years ago. The 29-year-old mainly is a striker. On the ground, she shows where she has a lot of holes in her game. Her striking is forward. She does have kind of a little bit of power. Gas tank is not the best. It's not bad, but even in the division, it's just not going to blow you out of the water. Either way, I'm talking too much about this fight already because Vienna, I don't necessarily think is UFC caliber, but hey, I thought about that. Shayna Dotson. Shayna Dotson in there was in a 3-fight losing streak, and she just did it. But Vienna on the ground is so bad that Whitmire specifically has to get it there, and that's what she likes to do. Her takedowns have gotten better. They're not great. The 4-3 fighter came off of the Contender Series as well, losing the Modafferi, but beating Moyle, Albu, and last losing the Rebos in a submission, which
Fuck you, Albu.
Every time, Albu. Every time. But here, I think Whitmire has to get it to the ground. Striking, Whitmire's much more hesitant and kind of just likes to clinch and try to get it there. She's definitely at a disadvantage striking. But on the ground, I think there's such a disparity, and these lady fights tend to get to the ground pretty quickly as well. I think it gets there. I got Whitmire decision. Out of the 2, I see her being more likely to finish out of the 2 via submission as well. But I'm going to go decision. It's going to be a big fat stay away for me on this one. Ugly, ugly fight. Who do you think you're taking in this gross one?
I don't want to talk about it too much either. I got Whitmire sub round 2. Polyana Viana has never shown up for me in the UFC. I don't know if Whitmire's so far off that. So I have sub round 2, but this is a fight I'm going to stay far, far away. Far, far away. I think better advice than us talking about this fight is some advice from Alex Jones.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that?
So, yep.
There's a reason. There's a reason for that. So, if you're going by MMA's Mark's logic, the Shitmire Whitmire has got bigger titties in there, and therefore she should win. That's not my logic. Again, MMA Marks on the chat, throwing down the knowledge factor in there. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying 8,200 for Whitmire against Polyana Vienna's 8,000 even. Again, big fat stay away on DraftKings. There's so many better spots. Out of the two, I'd play the 8-2 of Whitmire because I think she's the likely finisher out of either fighter. So if you're going to take a stab at that fight, that's the only side you should be on as far as I'm concerned. Do you think you'll play that at all on DraftKings?
No, too early in the night.
Then at 185 pounds, we have a interesting matchup in Zach Cummings coming in against Alicio Di Chirico in there. Di Chirico being 12-4, coming off a 2-fight losing streak to Kevin Holland and Murdov in there. Mahmoud via decision tends to get out wrestler as a Italian wrestler. Serviceable. He's the lesser. Who is the other Italian? Freaking, I bet on all the time.
Not Chase Sherman, the cuter Chase Sherman.
The way cuter one. God, what's his name?
And he got in a fist fight almost backstage against
Adesanya. God, I want to say Di Chirico because the name's right there.
We could look it up easy, but it'll come to us beforehand.
Absolutely will, especially in this division. But either way, Di Chirico tends to like to get it to the ground and out wrestle. He's really a decision fighter. Striking isn't all that good. It's powerful, and his gas tank is semi-serviceable. I mean, he starts the gas in that third round, but he keeps up a solid pace here. And if he can't get the fight to the ground, he does struggle in striking type of matchups. And he can be out wrestled in wrestling matchups, which we've seen both for him here. Zach Cummings, though, coming up from 170 pounds and having a mixed record, beating Trevin Giles in a submission, but then losing to Akhmedov in a decision 11 months ago, really looking bad on the weigh-ins at 85. Vittori. Great job. Great call on that.
Like,
great
he's
hit.
A little cutie. I know, it's so funny. He's the good-looking Chase Sherman. I have him in the same category in my brain, like big, dopey, blonde guy.
Same haircut.
Yeah.
So Zach Cummings here, though, off that last loss, really looked bad at 36 years old. He moved up from 170, as I was saying. He tends to like to out-wrestle, out-grind it. Striking, he's legitimate. Coming out of that Springfield Fight Club, I know he's also been training over with Glory team with James Krause, I believe Zach Cummings was for a little while as well. But his striking's never really come along, and now Zach Cummings' gas tank has really started to falter, which was his biggest attribute, was his grinding ability. And I feel like this is going to turn into a sloppy, disgusting fight. I'm more fading Zach Cummings here because he doesn't have that much power, and now that he's starting to wane in the gas tank, which was really his only way to win fights, it's not looking good for him. So I got Di Chirico, but I think it's going to be a 29-28 type of a dirty split decision. I think Zach Cummings might win round one and just totally gas out. And Di Chirico at 30 years old should be in the prime of his life right now. Dirty split on the way. Dirty split.
I know. I couldn't find that.
No, we got to make that one.
I know. We have to make it ourselves because I tried to find a Dirty Pop even. I couldn't. It was like
and then we just dub it in song, at the end.
But you know what? I am going the other way. I think tight, dirty split. I'm just going Cummings. He is that guy that is a hype train stuffer. You have to be well-rounded everywhere to go up against him. I think he'll grind out the first round and then get that takedown at the end of the third, just enough to solidify that round. It'll be close. Take the second round off. Di Chirico is a guy that's kind of never showed up for me so far. So give me Cummings with a dirty decision.
Do you think it's going to be a split potential? Because I got dirty split written all over that phone, bitch.
I think Zach Cummings' ring IQ and experience is going to be what just gets the takedown at the end of every round when needed. Does those little things that to win him the fight. But you are right. Zach Cummings at 170 to Zach Cummings at 185 is like, did you just gain fat?
Thank you. He did a Jake Collier where it's like he moved up to 265, barely made weight, but none of it was muscle. Not one bit. So on DraftKings, Zach Cummings is going to be 8,400 against DiChirichio 7,800. I'm going to big fat stay away from this one. Averages 63 points. Cummings average 51 for DiChirichio in here. Not worth it. They're not going to, on their best wins, they're going to get like 80 points.
Zach
Going to be a brutal
Cummings
one.
is only worth playing. He goes in my Tim Means category. I only want him as an underdog. I only want him as an underdog. It should be the other way in the fight. I can't believe that most people see it how I see it right now. I thought DiChirichio would be the favorite, and I'd have my little nasty Zach Cummings underdog, and then I'd totally play him. But I'm not paying over 8 for Zach Cummings.
It is officially -115, so a coin flip as far as the Tapology line. The live actual line is -105. Cummings -115. DiChirichio. That is as coin flip as it gets, and I think a lot of people are seeing exactly what we see here.
Agree.
Definitely a stay away on DraftKings. One that does have potential to be picked on at straw weight, 115 pounds. We got Mallory Martin coming in against long returning hottie Hannah Cyphers, coming in with one of the best social media. Dang it. I messed up. I was gonna say, one of the best interviews in the game.
Post-fight speech. Best post-fight.
Yeah, press conferences in the game. I want her to win just so that she gets on that one-on-one mic with Senko in there. Hannah Cyphers coming in. E.T. the extraterrestrials.
That was more exciting
Every
than
time.
all her fight speeches put together. That moment.
Hannah Cyphers, definitely one of those. I love her because she definitely has punching power in there. She stays with it, and she's a fighter to be a fighter. She's out riding cows in the middle of North Carolina, not doing anything. She would fight competitively. I don't think necessarily out in a bar, but she's just somebody who doesn't matter who they sign, who they ask her to fight, she will fight them. And that's proof with her 10-6 fight record, losing her last 3 in the UFC to Angela Hill, Mackenzie Dern, and Agapova. I know Agapova lost her last fight in big fashion there, but there was a lot of hype on that. And Cyphers is just proven that on the ground, she is somebody who has gaping holes in her ground game. She made Angela Hill look like a black belt on the ground, and they're taking her down and ground and pounding her with elbows. Mackenzie Dern, we know that she's might not be UFC caliber, but she's able to beat the Cyphers type of opponent because of that disadvantageous ground game or ground exploitability that she has there. And against Agapova, again, got her right down right away. So
Is Agapova a regular 115er or is she a 125er? And Cyphers just took the fight against. Cyphers is already a teeny 115er, and I think she took
correct.
a fight against a bigger 125er.
That's what I'm saying. She's a company girl.
Yeah.
Like Candace Cyphers gets a contract and she says yes before the name is even on there. She's just like, yes, I will fight. And by the way, she's fighting in 2 months, 3 weeks, 7 months. Like this is her third fight in 3 months. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Again, the last one was pretty quick. The Mackenzie Dern, she ate a heavy right hand that eventually got her to the ground. But here it's going to be a little bit of a tough one against a 6-3 fighter. That last loss in Mallory Martin, last loss to Jane Jaroba in a submission 8 months ago. But at 26 years old, she's going to have time to grow coming out of that Elevation Fight team, training with Dotson in that last fight, who last beat Agapova in there. I think that the line is a bit skewed here as far as the -300 for Martin. But stylistically, Martin got 8 takedowns in her not in her last fight. I think in her last fight, actually. I'm looking at the fight metric here. She got 8 takedowns against Jan Jaroba and finally got submitted. But in a lot of her even previous Invicta fights, she likes to get fights to the ground and do a lot of ground and pound from the top. And that's Hannah Cypher's kryptonite. She can stop the initial takedown, not the chain wrestling. But I do think the line is a little crazy here. I do think that those last showings for Cyphers and stuff, plays into this. And I just don't see that you can play Martin for that heavy of a favorite. I was borderline. Cyphers. I got a soft spot for Cyphers. She's in that Betchko range with me. But I should have faded that when I could have as well. So I'm going to go Martin decision.
Hmm.
Could even see myself turning that into a submission in there. I'm going to go decision right now. Cyphers is back at the division. She should be 115. But I think Cyphers has a puncher's chance, and she hits a lot harder than a lot of these women in here and can make this fight a little interesting in here. Might have a little exposure on my baby girl in there. Who do you think you're taking
I
in this
think the
one?
line's totally off. I'm actually going with Cypher's decision. I think the caliber of girl she's going up against, Mackenzie Dern's kind of like, yeah, I don't put her super high on the list, but she probably outweighed, I almost called her homegirl. She probably outweighed Cyphers by 30 pounds. And so it would be like if I went up against Hannah Cyphers, I could have zero skill. But I feel like my size, I could just throw her down. And that's kind of what I feel like Mackenzie Dern did to her. This is right back at her weight class, but the people she's just going up against are so far better than Mallory Martin. So I'm going to go with Cypher's decision here. I think it's going to be a close, dirty D. I think she can do enough in the first round to stay away. I think she's going to have the better hands. I hope she uses a little bit more kicks because of her reach disparity. Reach disparity. Yeah, and gosh, I really do like elevation right now. Both these girls are training out of Colorado right now, huh?
Correct.
I
Actually, I don't know. I might have just been creeping on that Insta for Cyphers, but I thought she was out of like North Carolina or something.
I know
She's out of Embrace
from there,
Martial
but
Arts.
I thought she was with Rose. Am I wrong on that?
Cyphers?
Yeah, am I wrong?
I think you're wrong on
I
that.
thought Pat Barry was
I think
her
she has a
coach.
really small camp. I think she has a really small camp over at Embrace and has been with them from the start, which is probably why she's taking all these UFC fights.
Oh, you know who I'm thinking of? Aldridge. JJ Aldridge.
Five head.
Shit. I was thinking, I don't understand. JJ Aldridge, of course, over Mallory Martin. Now that I'm back to Hannah Cyphers, I'm still going to pick a Hannah Cyphers decision. I like what she's done more against the girls that she's done it against. She saw the best fucking version of Angela Hill. And then the two girls after her were in 20-pound different weight classes. So back at 115, I'm going to go with Cyphers. I think she does enough to eke out a little decision.
Absolutely way closer. I had decision initially coming into it, but going back and watching the tape, it's definitely closer, but the stylistically, it's a bad matchup for Cyphers. And that's what sucks. That's where it's maybe not a good camp. Like a good camp might be like, let me look at Martin. Oh, she's a takedown artist. Let's get her in with a striker. Let's wait and get Cyphers. But Cyphers is on a 3-fight losing streak. She might not feel that she has an option and just kind of has to take a fight. But I don't know how you keep on a 4-fight losing streak.
But I do
Cyphers
like what you're saying with elevation. Is such a good fight team. If there's a way to beat Cyphers and you see it, they see it,
Thank you. Embrace has already proven that they can't give Cyphers a good enough game plan to keep it where it needs to.
I'm switching to Martin decision.
Yeah, but the line's still off. The line is still off. Minus 300 is still too much against the level of opponent that Cyphers is. With that, can't bet against her in that spot with the stylistic clash there. That's enough about that one. I know MMA Mark says Cyphers is trash. Look into the booty shots. Tell me later. On to middleweight, 185 pounds. We're going in against Maki Pitolo, coming in against Impa Kasange coming in with a perfect 7-0 record. And I want to say his nickname, Impa's nickname there, but it's what? Shilbu?
I thought it was Nada.
Where do you see that?
I thought his nickname was Nada. I thought his name was Impanada.
Way better. I love that. But Impa here, Kasanye, it just came off of the Contender Series, winning in a decided decision against Adams 2 weeks ago, saying in the back, which I think that is one of the few guys that got a decision that said, hey, I know I just won. I'm willing to fight in the next week. And in this COVID world, Dana White was like, sign him. I got him someone I'll fight. And it's more opportunity and knowing he's willing to. Dana White even said it like, remember you said that, buddy. We need you to fight in 2 weeks. And he's like, yeah, okay. Because most other decision fighters, and we saw it last night on the Contender Series in a fight that was much more one-sided, Dana White didn't give him a contract. But this guy who talked in his post-fight speech, oh, I'll fight next week if you want me to. And Dana White was like, oh, by the way, we got to fight in like 2 weeks. And he's like, okay, yeah, sure. So he's coming in. Is it UFC caliber? I don't know. It's another Contender Series standout in Maki Pitolo coconut bombs. I feel like we've been talking about lately a lot. 2 months ago, he knocked out Charles Bird. 2 weeks ago, he lost to the dentist, Darren Stewart, who just got a fight signed with Holland, the mouth. What's his name? Dennis Holland? Trevor Holland.
There's 2 Hollands, right?
There is two. No, Kevin Holland.
Kevin.
Kevin
Trevin Giles,
Holland.
Kevin Holland.
Kevin, thank you, Marks there. So it's definitely I had money on Stewart in that one. I thought he'd beat Patillo, but we know what coconut bombs gets in here with out of that West Oahu team. He comes in with the bombs, shown on the ground that he has a little bit of issue with submission defense, as well as being outground. His gas tank against Callum Potter at 170 was exploited there. But in that knockout he got against Bird, if you tend to gas on him, he will be able to throw the heat on you. Kasange, though, showed that he was able to drag a fight 2 weeks ago into the deep water and just grind out a lesser fighter with less power here. And I think that Adams isn't even necessarily UFC caliber here. And I think Kasange specifically wouldn't have got a contract if he wasn't willing to fight. So I'm actually in a really interesting. I think Patillo, who I hate, you have heard me talk a lot of shit about this guy. I don't think he's UFC caliber, but I don't think Impa's UFC caliber here as well. So I'm going to go TKO round number 1. Patillo, give me the slight underdog here. This is a super gross fight. This is a UFC COVID era fight. We're getting big upsets for reasons. This isn't a big upset, but people, I don't know how you can be confident at minus 140 against an unproven fighter 2 weeks ago. That just fought 2 weeks ago against Patillo, who's a kind of more proven. So gross fight. Give me Patillo. I'll take him for a TKO round number 1. I could even move that into 2 after he softens him up a little bit there. Be careful better on this one. This whole card.
Yay.
Be careful.
Impa, does he grind at all?
That's what he does.
Then I'm picking him by decision because Pitolo is so one note. He has a coconut bomb. That should be his name, not coconut bombs, plural. He has a coconut bomb, 1. And then he's winded after he misses it 3 times. So if he can get grind out, he will get grind out. I'll pick this other dude. Unless it's a total setup fight and Dana's like, can we get something for coconut bombs here? Can we get coconut bombs 1? So, give me. I'm going to stay away from this one, too.
Yeah. This
and
one is
I'm anti-coconut
sketchy.
bombs. Everyone that listens
Me too.
knows.
I have been too.
I
have been too.
I'm never going to pick them.
The shot's there. The shot is there right now. But you would think Kasange would realize, get this guy to the ground and submit him. Just like Stewart. Just like, oh, wow, there's glaring holes in his ground game. Maybe you're talking me out of Patillo here, but I agree. I'm a hater with him usually. I don't know why. My mind's eye is just like, I see an uppercut landing and all of a sudden he's out. And it's like, oh, wait, the 2-week guy from Contender Series didn't pan out. Weird. How that didn't work out. So on DraftKings for the debuter here, Kasange is going to be 500 minus 140 favorite against Maki Patillo, 7,700. Buyer beware. Big fat stay away on DraftKings. You're in on your own there. I don't even feel like giving DraftKings advice is worthy there. definitely be hesitant on both sides. So Super Sketch City. Is that the perfect way to get into the business? Because that's going to be headlining our preliminary bout. And then we get into, what we love to talk about best here
The main card.
on the FPC. The main one, all 5 of them.
All right. I feel good now. I'm ready for the main card.
So this is definitely better known as the Fight Pick Championships. This is where all the points count. We're coming for that mini belt. We're coming for it.
I knew I forgot
Unfortunately,
on our screen today. I forgot the Fight Pick Championship logo. It took me so long to find the Smith versus Rakic picture. I knew I forgot one. Anyways.
Oh, in time. Unfortunately, the big green weenie or the big pink weenie in there ended up getting it done last week on Fight Pick Championships. To the winner goes the spoils.
It was kind of how it should be. He was in first, and I was in second. Granted, I was tied in second, and it looked like I was in fourth, but I was in second.
So definitely coming in third here at the Zoltanite account here. Big E not showing up so well, even though I got a couple right on there. Fight Pick Championships has been up in the air. We're just into the second week, but again, we're going to have many weeks to come that are going to be very interesting and close coming into here. So we got time. We got time. And one that we've been trying to make some money on for a little while here at 205 pounds is Magomed Ankalaev coming in against Ian Kutalaba 2, but it's been booked 5 times. Dropped out on fight night or the day before fight day like 3 times already. This is one of those Habib Ferguson type of bouts that it's like UFC's like, we will make you guys.
This is the one that
fight.
happened,
Like, yeah.
and then it was sketchy.
Uh-huh.
Like, it actually went down, and because he was trying to play possum, and then he got called out and said he got knocked out. But he was like, what? I didn't get knocked out. That's this hole.
He wasn't. He was just wobbling in there. He was just faking it in there, and absolutely a bad call in there. But that's what you get when you play, some people would say. But prior to that, I mean, there was the whole exchange of Kutalaba getting in Ankalaev's face, and then Ankalaev turning him into the cage when Bruce Buffer was announcing him that the staff had to get in before the fight. Like, these guys are about to fight. They're like, wait, the bell hasn't rung. You can't fight yet. It was just really interesting on how the rule, that bell, is so official. It makes it so the main card turns the FPCs into something that is a cut above. The cream always rises to the top, and this always shows who's at the top. So at 205 pounds, we've already broken this fight down like we've broken this one down way too many times.
And FYI, you can always talk over the drops.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so if you ever hear him, you can just,
it
doesn't mess up anything.
Over here, MMA Marks, by the way, throwing some fake news in the feed in there, so none of the rest of the listeners pay attention to that. Either way, we got Ankalaev, Kutalaba. We know what we're getting here. Ankalaev is a better wrestler, better gas tank, more spinning shit. Straighter down the punch. Kutalaba comes in with the brooding fists, moves forward, and will try to turn a fight into a brawl because that's where he does best. Kutalaba cannot fight a technical fight, and it's been proven over and over again. We made money against him in Glover Teixeira, which we should be betting on against some of these other hype trains later on in the night. So here, I feel like my bet hasn't changed. I got Ankalaev decision, but I think there's been so much heat, so much pent-up anger that I could even make a prop bet under 2.5. Give me Ankalaev via TKO. If it turns into a brawl, Kutalaba has a shot. If it starts to turn into more of a point fight, then Ankalaev easily there. Give me TKO round number 2. Round number 3. Round number 3, I think he lets Kutalaba blow his wad a little bit, and Kutalaba has a shit gas tank, so there's no way he gets into the third for this one. Give me Ankalaev, TKO round number 3. Who are you taking in this one?
I'm going to go with Ankalaev decision. I agree with you about Kudalaba's gas tank. I think it's kind of shitty. I think Ankalaev, the weird thing that he's looked, I feel like he's got this hand-picked fight, so it looks like he's some kind of knockout artist, but he isn't. He's a decision grinder type guy. And I think Kutalaba can get beat on, and by the second round, he'll get taken down with ease. But Ankalaev doesn't have great cardio either, so I feel like by the third round it's going to be boring AF. Give me Ankalaev decision, and I think he will get all 3 of the rounds, at least 2, but it'll be a comfortable decision.
Absolutely in there. It's definitely a interesting spot throughout the night to be able to prop bet wise. Again, I'm thinking I'm going under that 2.5 rounds. Actually, I'm lying. I'm going to go over 2.5 rounds. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying 9,000 even for Ankalaev against Ian Kutalaba's 7,200. That is a -2 or -370 favorite for Ankalaev compared to the other fight that we saw earlier on the night that was that high. I feel like Ankalaev is much more in that linchpin position for me, because even if it's a decision, I feel like he has a much higher strike output.
Yeah, I like that too.
And way better on the ground. So for that 9,000 range, Ankalaev is the guy that I'm going to definitely be wedging into my accounts there, as many as I can. The limited amount, because I feel like just like last week, which I'm really happy that I went light on DraftKings, this week's going to be the same. I think I might go a little heavier, honestly, because there is a lot of non-debuters, even though we get one coming up next. There is a lot of tape, and there's even tape that I'm just like, oh, cool, this is still fresh in my mind from not long ago with a lot of returning fighters. So I am going to probably play a little more on DraftKings, but it played off, I guess. So initially I was wrong in telling you that. The whiskeys have been going down a little too smooth this afternoon over here at the LaTB dungeon. So at 145 pounds, we got Ricardo Lamas coming in against short notice replacement Bill Algio?
Senor Perfecto.
Senor Perfecto coming in as a short notice replacement for who was it? Giga Chikadze? Is that who fell out of this fight?
I don't know. No, because
no.
his name sounds like it should be a little. But it's totally. Who is this doughy kid?
So he's definitely a contender series guy. It ended up actually being Ryan Hall who dropped out of this fight. Chikadze dropped out of one a little bit later on. So here, Senor Perfecto came in on the contender series, lost to Brandon Lohane in the most one-sided beating you've seen in a decision ever. I feel like there might have been some like pictures of Dark P, but maybe that was on the Lohane side. So Angelo's showing a good gas tank in there. He can go a solid 3. He's got submissions and knockouts. Shows that he's got a solid fight IQ in there. He's 31 years old in his prime right now, arguably. He has power and submissions, as I was saying before, but Brandon Lohane gave him a life-altering beating in the contender series fight. And then 10 days ago, he was in a decision fight against another CFC promotion guy in a decision literally 10 days ago, and they were just like, hey, do you want to fight in the UFC? You got Lamas. And he's like, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Christiana Cyborg. He's going to sign the dotted line. So he'd be willing to fight anyone in there. Unfortunately, he's got to come in against Ricardo Lamas, who's 19-8.
I like how you said her instead of like, it could be John Jones.
Doesn't matter.
It could be Christiana Cyborg.
Not matter. Could be Mackenzie Dern. Doesn't matter. He would take the fight because you're getting in the UFC. So Ricardo Lamas is by far leaps and bounds the best fighter he's ever fought by so much. He's just 38 years old, coming off of a loss to Cater, who we see as a real prospect out there, beating Elkins in a TKO, losing to Bektik and Emmett, um, beating Jason Knight. Lamas shows us on the ground that he does some really crafty, I don't want to say Dinesh, but that same Hermanson like reverse uh, cradle, not even cradle, reverse guillotine there that he throws, does Hermanson. Lamas has that in a different variation, but he also chooses a sweep off of it. Go to Jack Slack. He puts a great ground game breakdown in there on Lamas and how crafty he is. The thing is that Lamas likes to keep it standing and keep fights exchanging. He has a good calf kick, but he can get caught, and his chin hasn't been good as of late. He's 38 years old on a long career, and this is a perfect spot for one of these young guys to come in on 10 days' notice and make a name off of him. It's the absolutely perfect spot. I do love that he's taken a year off of the knockout, so I feel like he has recovered fully here. There's no way you don't pick Lamas, but we have been seeing crazier outcomes as of late. Lamas, you got to go with him, but I don't know if you can necessarily bet him. It's interesting that it's only minus 260. I actually thought it was going to be a lot more expensive for Lamas in here. Guess people are giving Bill a little more credit. I got Lamas everywhere. I could see, I'm going to go submission round number 1. I could even move that into 2. Give me Ricardo Lamas all over the place. So far better. Everywhere. Everywhere.
Everywhere. I'm going to go with Lamas D. Decision. I don't know anything about this kid. I mean, if Lamas is that much better on the ground, in which he should be able to get a submission, like you're saying. I don't want him to stay on the feet at all. I'm hoping he's learned that. I agree, he has like a weird chin. So give me a Lamas decision. If I'm going to change it to anything, it'll be a submission. And it'll be right in the middle of the fight, probably round 2 if I change it. Ugh, do I want to change it? No, I'm going to go with decision still. I think that risk control is everything. It's your first fight in the UFC against Ricardo Lamas. You're going to give it all. You're going to give it your all.
On draft, yeah, I agree. That's what I'm saying. This guy has got nothing to lose. He's got nothing to lose. He can throw a kick and whatever because it's like, of course, he was coming in to lose on 10 days' notice. So especially dangerous right now. And as I was saying, even with Jack Slack in that breakdown, he says it the best. And he says this off of Roy Jones's interview, where if you respect a guy in an MMA fight or any fight for that matter, if you respect someone, you don't come in with a measured game plan. You come balls to the wall because you can always fall back on the measured game plan.
Yeah, I agree. I totally
And
agree. Especially at this
so
COVID fight now where it's just everything short notice and fly by the seat of your pants. And, it's your first fight in the UFC against a top level dude like Ricardo Lamas. You have nothing to do but come in hot.
on DraftKings, 9,200 for Lamas against the 7,000 for Algio in here. Beware on Lamas, but that's the only side I'm going to be able to put. Actually, I'm going to go a couple spots. I'm going to be contrarian on a couple cards. I'm going to have Algio for what I'm saying with that crazy little bit of chin. We've seen crazier things happen as of late. So the Jones knockout last weekend on 2 days, 3 days notice should have been stopped to do body shots. I mean, absolutely phenomenal stuff against Valiev there. But then we have a real fight of the night standout potential here at 125 pounds in Ji Young Kim coming in against Alexa, the Sasso Grasso in here. She is a hot little piece, missing weight as of late with the 11-3 fighter. Lost to Carla Esparza, where she missed by like 5.5 pounds. Prior to that, beating Karolina Kovacevic, losing to Titiana Suarez, beating Ronda Marcos in a dirty, dirty split, and losing to Felice Herring in here. Grasso comes in with that Mexican boxing, coming in with that Aldana skills in there. Grasso being a darling of the sport for a long time in here, showing a good gas tank, but finally showing that she's growing into her body at 27 years old and showing that she's not a 115er. She's not the biggest 25er, but she's finally putting that muscle on. Her and Aldana, whatever they're doing over in Guanajuato, over there, they're doing a good job with their striking conditioning. And I think it's that Lobo gym. It is. Um, hey, they got another contender with Aldana in there, so they don't have too many male fighters doing legit stuff. But you don't need to be a guy gym. You could be a girl gym as well, or all round gym like the Oyama camp here. But either way, getting into the Kim type of fighter, the 9-2 fighter from South Korea, 30 years old. It's coming off of a big win against Kasem in a TKO 10 months ago. Prior to that, losing to Shevchenko, the lesser Chenko in there, beating Fabia, beating Kish, losing to Pudilova. Kim rarely shoots in her fights, likes to keep them striking in there. And she didn't turn into the blue belt, but she just has actually a fairly high output in her last fight against Kasem, 80 strikes, but she did give up a takedown in that fight. In her loss, she gave up two takedowns against Shevchenko here. She throws around 80 to 90 strikes, but they're very just kind of plodding forward, moving with straight punches down. They're not set up. She just kind of gets you pressure, pushes you up against the cage. And I think against the level of caliber and fight IQ of Grasso, not only does she pivot off those points, but if she moves you moving in a straight line as Kim does, she'll start to set you up with pivots and hooks. And there's a reason she's a minus 300 favorite out of most of the night, where I'm saying these lines should be closer than they are. We've seen tape on both of these ladies and seen a pretty good job here. Kim has to get this to the ground, and she has not shot a takedown in the UFC yet. So maybe she shot two and not been able to take those down. Grasso's going to have the takedown defense here. I think it's a decided 30-27, if not a late round finish for Grasso. I think she's starting to really put it all together. Give me Alexa Grasso everywhere here. I did have a decision. I could see myself moving that into a TKO and then people calling her a knockout artist, but she's really not. I just don't think Kim is necessarily there.
I actually like Kim. I think she's an underrated fighter. Grasso, I think, is overrated. But in this situation, this should stay on the feet, and Grasso should be able to handle her everywhere. Like, she's going against somebody. Kim's not going to try to take her down. I don't think Grasso wants to take Kim down, really. I think they'll stay on the feet. I think Grasso has the better boxing. I think every time Kim throws a kick, Grasso's going to capitalize on it. She has such crisp hands. She could knock her out. I just think Kim's one of those ladies that can take a beating. So I'm going to go with a heavy, maybe even a 30-26 with the knockdown Grasso decision. I think Grasso is my linchpin.
I agree with you. I think that there's definitely some value in what you're saying. And as I'm saying, out of all of the minus 300s, this is the one I'm most comfortable in picking out of all of these fights. I feel like she's linchpin type of potential in there. So on DraftKings, you're going to end up having to pay. Here we go. I thought a fight we didn't talk about, and I don't know if it's going to be in the main card or not, but I know it was replaced, but Tapology's still iffy on it, so I don't know if it's officially verified. I'll quickly, though, do the DraftKings 9,100 Grasso, Kim 7,100 even. On average, though, Alexa Grasso gets 52 points. Is that worth it for 9-1? You're saying 30-26. So you think
I think it will be worth it this time because she has enough losses that have been quick in there that I think it's just skewing her score down.
Okay. I agree. I think Grasso is somebody that for that 9,000 level, I could be seeing myself picking and having some exposure to, even though she's a little high. Not on everything, probably in that 20% range, but definitely have some there. The fight that I did think we skipped over, and it was because Tap hasn't even registered it here, was that Giga Chikadze fight. Fell out against Alex Caceres. Chikadze withdrew due to injury. And Kevin Kroom is stepping in on through 4 or 5 days notice here. That's the 29th though Oh, wait, never mind. That's not going to be on this fight card. That's why. So, wait, that's this fight card. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. The 29th. Okay. It's officially not on tap, but either way, watch those Kroon fights if you even want to know anything about it. I was going to pick Caceres as a or a plus 230 underdog against Chikadze. So I'm picking Caceres here. I don't know what the lines are. Give me Caceres on DraftKings. Caceres' line against that Chikadze fight was super skewed with it being 7,400 Caceres, so I would have picked Caceres everywhere. If Caceres is available at 7,400, because they've just kept these guys' scores that way before and just made like the opponent 7-1, you got to go Caceres everywhere. I think Caceres highly likely to finish this if it goes to the ground at all. Kroon brutes forward, has been submitted by some. I saw some gnarly submissions against him, but he's a 50-50 fighter. The only reason he's in the UFC is because he's got the shot here. So you got to go Caceres everywhere as far as I'm concerned on that one. Really surprised DraftKings hasn't updated that, and I even refreshed that. Still not in there. So I did watch tape on the Kroon fight though. So LaTB here doing the work for y'all. I don't know what deserves a subscribe or a like out there if that's not it. I'm telling you, I'm getting fucking deep in this bitch. I'm in statistics and I'm like, what? Crude?
And
Crude fighting in this one. Let me do some tape study real quick. Oh, I got Caceres.
if you're trying to make
everywhere.
people money, I don't know why this is the drop that I found to remind me of money.
Scrooge McDuck. Every time.
That means you're taking it real because you about to go swimming in your gold. And
Absolutely.
I
in
did
here.
do this one too.
Wrong.
Could you hear it? And
I
this
hit
one.
wrong.
I did this one.
We are going to drain the swamp.
We lost 40% of our viewership there.
And I did this one though to bring him back.
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now.
So, and
Barely heard that
just because most of our friends are assholes, I have this one.
Ultra gay.
I was just thinking when MMA Marks is out here saying with Bruce Leroy Jenkins. I mean, Caceres. So, to the co-main event of the night at 170 pounds, we have Robbie Lawler coming in against Neil Magny, the Haitian sensation. Magny in here is coming in with a 23-7 record, coming off a 2-fight winning streak to Anthony Rocco Martin 2 months ago. Prior to that, beating Li Jingliang, losing only to Ponzinibbio a year 9 months ago. Where's Ponzinibbio? That's all I'm saying.
Where is Ponzinibbio?
Every time. So coming in against the 28-14 fighter Robbie Lawler, who's off a 3-fight losing streak, losing to Dos Anjos, Askren. And as of late, Colby Covington in the
Askren?
decision.
Askren? Askren?
And I had Askren in that fight. And as soon as that fight started, I was like, what was I thinking? Oh my God, thank you, Herb Dean. Thank you, Herb Dean. Thank you so much, Herb Dean.
Horrible.
Oh man, he saved me a bit.
At least
Not
you
a
never
big
went
bet,
with him
but
again.
he did save me some.
You never picked
What's that?
Askren. You never picked Askren again. I did.
Ever.
I did.
I never again. I made so much money against my as a -2 whatever 100 or plus 200 there. But Robbie Lawler here a year ago got out decisioned by far by Colby Covington. I know it's a controversial name, but we've made nothing but money here on Colby Covington, even though he lost his last 5-rounder against the champ there. Nothing to scoff at, and I'm just itching to
See,
put
that would
more
have been
money
the
on
perfect
Colby.
time for the drop when you said Colby Covington. Drain the swamp.
Absolutely.
It would come in
Absolutely the
handy.
perfect one here. But here against Neil Magny, Robbie Lawler, the last time he has knocked somebody out, which is usually the accolades they give Lawler, is like he's a boxer. He's been around since the Miletich days. He's been fighting since he was 20 years old. He's now 38 and been nothing at the highest level. Some of the biggest comebacks ever. Great striker, good takedown defense. Not great anymore, but the gas tank is finally starting to wane a little bit. You don't have to worry about Lawler not fighting for his money in there, but we are not seeing the optimal Lawler here. We haven't seen him for many years. He's living off of some of those big finishes, and he's been a decision off of Cerrone as his only last win, and losing to T Wood. I mean TKO, but we just haven't seen a prime Lawler for a long time. It's all that namesake. And stylistically, this is the worst matchup you could give Robbie Lawler. Somebody who can grind and finish you late in the third round, if not fifth round, if he needed to. But Neil Magny is a lesser Colby Covington, maybe not as much knockout potential, but does the same thing. He grinds,
Maybe a little
doesn't
better
let you,
hands. Maybe a little better hands than Colby.
or better submissions, maybe just that finishing ability. I like Magny a little bit more. I feel like if he just smells the kill, he's a little more willing to go for it, where Kobe will just stay on the lead and not try to finish and just keep doing it. But I feel like we see a lot of if you go back and watch that fight, Robbie Lawler, even against Hendricks 7 years ago, when you start getting taken down, which he's serviceable takedown defense, he'll look at the corner and be like, "Come on, ref, let me up," and the refs will be like, "Get yourself up." And Magny's going to do that in the clinch along the cage. I got Neil Magny everywhere. I like his plus 230. Not that I like it. I'd wish he was a little bit not so much, but it's valued there. Robbie Lawler's on his way out. It's been out for a while. I think you got to put Magny everywhere. Give me Neil Magny in a TKO. I think it's going to be around number 3. I think it's going to be the cardio and just Magny um, proving he understands what he needs to do right now in the division, and that's get finishes. And he's been saying that he's coming out of that elevation team.
All
Weird.
elevation again. 2 weeks in a row, all elevation.
So
That is good advice.
TKO round number 3. Who do you think you're taking in this co-main event of the evening?
I got a Neil Magny decision because Robbie Lawler is the zombie that just won't stop. He'll keep coming forward. He'll look bloody as anything. I don't think I've ever picked Robbie Lawler in a fight. And I feel like most of the time it does good on me. Yeah, it
Hey,
does good
out
on
of his
me.
last 5, you've been right 4 of those times.
So I like Neil Magny. I love the way he looked in his last fight. Robbie Lawler's the perfect punching bag for Neil Magny to just kind of do whatever he wants the whole time. I don't think Robbie Lawler will quit. It is a 3-round fight. Give me Magny by decision, but I think it'll be heavy pointed DraftKings decision.
On DraftKings, 8,600 for Neil Magny, the plus minus 235 favorite against Lawler, 7,600. Iconic, tragic betting on that. Not necessarily betting, but picking Lawler sleeps him in the second round. Hey, make that pick on the FPC. Put it in there if you got that much faith in it. We'll see.
To me, as far as chin goes, glass jaw all day, Neil Magny. And who can catch that? Robbie Lawler. I think, to me, I see the higher finishing probability to be Robbie Lawler. And Neil Magny's jaw still scares the shit out of me. Like, I have not forgotten that.
Absolutely. Do we want to try to do any evil twin at all?
I think we totally could, but we might have to do it later tonight.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. In the main event at 205 pounds, we have a 3-round bout between Anthony Smith versus Alexander Rakic. Rakic in here being a long-time LaTB cutie. We've been riding that dog for a while. And unfortunately, as of late, he got his second loss ever. The 12-2 fighter came in, made a big name for himself in the UFC. We bet him against the Gross Burrows. I didn't bet him against Ledet. You did, but that's where you converted me into a Rakic lover in here, knocking out Devin Clark, knocking out Jimmy Manawan, one of the knockout of the years in there, and then last losing to Ozdemir in a controversial split decision. And when I did my tape study, Rakic won that fight. Was there damage on both fighters? Absolutely yes. But I just saw it sidedly going for Rakic in there. I
And you love
definitely,
Cousin.
I do. I really do. But I picked Rakic out of those two in there, and I picked Cousin in his last fight against Yuri, and that didn't work out so well there. But either it was definitely a really close fight, but there was a lot of great fight IQ in there, solid chin and solid toughness. Because I really liked going back and watching that. That shin of Rakic was fucked. That thing was so absolutely bad that a lot lesser men, Sugar Sean O'Malley, fucking call it quits in there. So I don't care, Twitch. I know he's a darling of yours, but you want to know how to take a calf kick? Rakic, look at that. Took him, kept fighting, was just like, oh, I can't walk, but let's keep fighting in here. So definitely a prospect that that you have turned me on to for a while. Anthony Smith coming in with a 33-15 record, coming off of a loss to Glover Teixeira, where his teeth fell out of his face. He thought his veneers fell out. It was actually no, it was just the teeth at the core of them. They got broken off
Oh
because
my gosh.
Glover Teixeira took a beating for that first round, got all sorts of records broken as far as strikes absorbed. But once Anthony Smith lost, was gassed, which happens at 85, 205, doesn't matter. Anthony Smith is a 2.5 round fighter. He completely gave up. And I would say out of both fighters, if I believe if you were to show both fighters a contract for 5 rounds, Anthony Smith would be the one who'd say, I'm not going 5 rounds.
He's been
I'm
five
not
rounds
going.
though.
I know he's been 5 rounds, but as of late, after what happened against Glover, I feel like he's just proven to not be that level of fighter. Maybe the UFC did this. I didn't do enough research as to why it was 3 rounds. It may come out later, but I don't know who chose not to make it 5 because every main card should be 5 rounds. If you're the main event of any card, 5 rounds, and I would be like, that's an honor. That's an honor. If I can't go 2 more rounds, I deserve to be finished. Like
Is
it's not a
Rakic
monetary.
is Ali Abdelaziz is he either of their managers?
I do not believe
Hmm.
so. I could be wrong, but I don't believe so.
Maybe just such
But
short notice to get these guys on a fight. It is a pretty big car, to get them. This is a decent main
maybe,
co-main.
but
I agree with
sure.
you.
But
I
ask
agree with you. I think every fucking main event, if you're not willing to do it, maybe there's somebody lower down that's willing to go 5. I bet they are, so I totally agree with you. If you're headlining, you go 5.
absolutely. So in the chat, Rakic looking to specular, iconic, tragic, saying, "Hold the fuck up" is MMA mark, and that's probably because he's saying it's a 3 rounder. Again, changing the entire dynamic of the fight, allowing Anthony Smith to have a lot more burst in there, not have to worry about it. Where absolutely trifling. I want to see what comes out after all of it. But as we're saying here, Anthony Smith, Muay Thai on the ground, shown that a better ground game is able to stifle him, especially on top. Did Glover Teixeira as many other fighters. But really, when I was looking at a lot of the stats, Anthony Smith is a comeback fighter, and we get a lot of great tape against Hector Lombard, against other underdog wins where he was getting beat to shit, came back and just won. Against Ozdemir, the submission, he lost those first 2 rounds, won in the third to a gassed fighter, beat Shogun Hua, and Shogun Hua didn't look bad in there. So Anthony Smith usually is on the losing end of a fight and rallies back. And I think Rakic can keep the takedown defense to keep it striking. Even on the ground, I think Rakic's a little bit better. Anthony Smith is a black belt, but I think that I don't believe that as much. When we've seen other real black belts in there, Smith has just kind of waned legitimately. Rakic is not that, but he's shown serviceable ground game. So I got a decision right now, especially because it's a 3-rounder, minus 300, little steep, but I think a lot of people are seeing that Smith is probably the one fighting for a check here, where Rakic is fighting to be a contender at 28 years old.
I disagree. I don't think
Oh,
Anthony Smith is fighting for a check. I think he's actually he's pretty well-rounded dude. I think Rakic, I kind of see him more as a one-trick pony. I think he's great on the feet. And the guys that I knew he was going to beat, Devin Clark. Devin Clark does nothing but grind. And he doesn't really even go for a ton of takedowns. He usually just stands with his tree trunk legs locked against the cage with somebody, which is what happened. And Rakic just did more work. And Clark, we've seen him not get knocked out those last 3 fights, but before that he was glass jawed, and so and then he knocked out the guy that I can't stand that everybody fucking knocks out. What is that dopey? Yes, Manawa.
poster boy.
Yeah, Anthony Smith actually burned himself out in that last fight. Like, he really did. We've seen it happen even in the last fight card where a fighter just let it all go because he thought, oh, I just have to land 3 more punches and the ref will call it. 5 more punches and the ref will call it. 10 more punches and the ref will call it. And he really blew his wad. So, I think the better ring IQ should go to Anthony Smith. I think Rakic's going to have the better kicks. He has those crazy spinning kicks and everything like that. Inside the clinch, Anthony Smith is pretty nasty. I think this is going to be a great fight. And the fact that it's 3 rounds does make me a little higher on Anthony Smith. I have a 3rd round submission right now. Yeah.
For Smith?
Yeah, for Anthony Smith. I can't believe it.
Really. Wow. Big, I do not agree. Maybe I eluded. I was thinking that that minus 300 was legitimate for Rakic there. It's a closer fight than that. It's absolutely a closer fight than that. That's a little steep, and I think people are playing off of that Teixeira fight. But Teixeira is a dog in there. Teixeira is cash for as big in other spots and should have there against Smith. So I would be more comfortable with like a minus 150. So be tentative on those parlays. As far as DraftKings is concerned, it's only a 3-rounder. We don't have those option for 2 other rounds like we saw last week. And on DraftKings, Rakic is 8,700, the big favorite, against Smith 7,500. The average points per fighter, Rakic is in those 86 points against Anthony Smith's 62-point average. Do you feel like you're going to be playing for 7-5 Anthony Smith on DraftKings?
I have to. And even just the caliber of dudes that Anthony Smith's gone up against, that when they've been caliber compared to Rakic, Anthony Smith's just fighting higher level guys. This is Rakic's hardest fight to me. But the 3 rounds fucking changes everything. The 5-round fight might give me a little bit of question. 3 rounds, Anthony Smith's just a little tricky. He's just tricky. I can even see a quick sub.
His teeth were knocked out of his face 3 months ago.
And then he doesn't need them anymore. They're gone. They're not
True,
going to get knocked
they
out
are
twice.
Gone. Did you hear any of the news about his assailant and all of that scary footage that came out about Anthony Smith on the side? Just kind of a side story to it. He went to the court hearing, and it's a fairly affluent young man. His dad is some business owner in the area, and the judge only gave the guy community service, even though he broke into his house and
with
assaulted
his wife and child in there, right?
Which his kids are still having post-traumatic stress, where they're waking up in the middle of the week, in the middle of the night, saying like someone's in the house.
It's crazy.
And this guy got a slap on the wrist because his dad could afford a good lawyer. And Anthony Smith flat out was just like, well, you know, the U.S. system is a little broke, and we could have told you that a long time ago. But hey, that's why there's riot in the streets. But that's a whole different subject. Absolutely right drop right there. So unfortunately, that scumbag should be definitely tried in a better court of justice. But here, unfortunately for Anthony Smith, I think he's going to not be able to take down Rakic just like he did that 170-pound insane man in his living room at 2 a.m.
Oh. Boom. That's right. I need a bomb. I need a boom. That would have
that
been
was
the better
brutal.
one, like a drop mic, but like a Barut, like a Barut bomb, like boom.
But I do see decision. Rakic is a little expensive at 8,700. You can't stack this fight because the output's just not there for either fighter. So I'm gonna be like 10% Rakic, 0% on Anthony Smith. I'm just on the fade train Anthony Smith pretty much wherever he comes up.
I might try
So
them both on cards. That helped me out last week. It allowed me to get in the
separately,
money on DK. Yeah. No stack.
you're not gonna stack. No
No
stack.
stack. No stack.
Absolutely.
One, I might play, but I might be light on each. I think they both
And
could get knocked out.
I actually stacked a Frankie Edgar Munoz in a 5 rounder. And hey, that worked out because
Me
Munoz
too.
got 85 points and Frankie Edgar got like one something in there. And that's because of the output. But there's a reason we say stacks and not because at times, I don't know if other people are just like, oh, we're on that. We're absolutely on that. But fun fight card. We got many lined in sight. We got too many to talk about. We got too much MMA news. I don't know if it's ever enough for me personally. But
Are you going to be streaming later?
I need to. I know I just set up this Twitch stream and I'm going to start doing my UFC 4. It doesn't matter if I lose. That's what I have to get over. I
Yeah.
just don't want to get knocked out live on TV, but it's not me. It's a character. But that's where I take it.
You get that real with it. I might be on Twitch later today. I'm on the Idiocalypse.
The Twitch stream name?
Well, you could follow the Idiocalypse Twitch stream name, but I think on my Twitch it might be there too tonight. There's a dude called Conspiracy Castle, and you might have seen his video go viral where he wore like a Zorro mask inside Target. He's gonna be on.
I did see that.
It. Yeah, so maybe in like the next 15 or 20 minutes, if you're into that kind of show, we'll be doing that too. So.
For your link, it would be at Weak Neck Baby.
Yes, weak neck, baby. And then you can find everything LaTB, as always, LaTB_MMA. And Fights of the Round Table, we will do live Saturday night. And there is a podcast feed going out. I'm trying to get better at uploading the audio to that as well. So for any of our fans that miss our recap, we do it with Ricky and Buddy and any of the other fellas that feel like swinging on by for the Fights of the Round Table on Saturday. So hit that link up and download that show for a recap. And that's all the plugs. So
Thank you for everybody in the chat. Iconic Tragic. Were we streaming to YouTube on this one as well?
nope, we are officially Twitch only. We YouTube.
Wow. Wow. So definitely thanks, Iconic Tragic.
I do upload.
MMA Marks.
I do upload it. It's just
Buddy,
not live there.
all that good stuff. And hey, Neil the security and on Mr. Anonymous on there. When you do hear this on YouTube, we appreciate it.
So I love you guys. Thanks for joining us, and be safe out there.
The dogs are going perfectly.